You're standing on the eastern African savanna 200,000 years ago. The sky ahead has turned the color of a blood orange, and it isn't dusk. It's smoke. A wildfire is moving towards you faster than you can run, and there's nowhere left that hasn't already burned. Right now, an app would warn you the moment smoke showed up 40 miles away. 200,000 years ago, none of that existed, only the fire and whatever was already inside your head. So how did ancient humans survive something that could erase an entire ecosystem in a single afternoon? Start with the oldest solid clue on record. In 2012, archaeologist Francesco Berna and a team from Boston University published an analysis of sediment from Wonderwork Cave, a limestone cavern on the edge of South Africa's Kalahari Desert. Using microscopic chemical analysis, they identified burned bone fragments and ashed plant material dated to roughly 1 million years ago, sitting inside tulle bearing layers from the early Acheulean, the same technological era associated with Homo erectus. Here's the detail that matters. That ash sat more than 30 yards inside the cave, far past where wind, rain, or a wildfire's actual flame could ever reach on its own. Everyone assumes early hominins only knew fire as the thing that chased them out of the grass. The truth runs the other way. By 1 million years ago, something, almost certainly an early population of Homo erectus, was carrying flame 30 yards into total darkness and keeping it alive there, long after any natural blaze outside would have burned itself out. That's not a species running from fire. That's a species that had quietly made it a tenant. So what does that kind of control actually buy you? For a clue about what fire mastery looked like before humans could strike a spark from scratch, researchers turned to something unexpected: chimpanzees. In 2006, primatologist Jill Pruitz was studying the savanna chimps of Fongoli, Senegal, when a wildfire bore down on her research site. She had two options: run or stay close to the chimps. She stayed. Pruitz and co-author Thomas Leduc published What Happened Next in 2010 in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology. The chimps didn't panic. They watched the flame, tracked its direction, and calmly rerouted around it. The same animals that spend roughly 7 months of every year, the entire dry season, living inside a landscape that regularly catches fire. Other large mammals studied near comparable fires didn't fare nearly as well. Elephants, by contrast, showed high stress and heavy losses when caught in the same kind of blazes. Everyone assumes real intelligence around fire means fear of it. Actually, according to Pruitz's model, it starts with something calmer than fear. Reading fire the way you'd read a moving animal, predicting where it's about to go instead of just flinching at where it already is. Fear comes first for almost every other species on that landscape. For chimpanzees, and presumably for early hominins, calculation came first instead. Reading fire is one skill. Bending it to a purpose is another skill entirely. In 2009, archaeologist Kyle Brown and his colleagues, publishing in the journal Science, examined stone tools from Pinnacle Point, a cave complex on South Africa's southern coast near Mossel Bay. The local stone, silkrete, was naturally too brittle to shape into a good blade. Heated, it wasn't. Brown's team found that early modern humans were building hearths that held silkrete at close to 300 degrees Celsius, using 20 to 40 kilograms of hardwood, burned for nearly 30 hours straight, just to make the stone easier to flake. That level of control dates back at least 72,000 years, possibly as far as 164,000. Before this discovery, deliberate heat treatment of stone tools wasn't thought to appear anywhere on Earth for another 45,000 years. Translate that. This wasn't a campfire that happened to sit near some rock. This was 30 hours of fuel management, planned around a chemistry problem nobody could even see. But reading and shaping fire only gets a person so far when the whole horizon is already burning. Here's where the story bends in a direction most people don't expect. In 2008, anthropologist Rebecca Bleach-Bird and her colleagues published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences on the Martu people of Australia's Western Desert, who still practice traditional fire stick hunting today. They measured what happened to sand monitor lizards, a staple food source, in freshly burned ground versus untouched ground. The number is almost absurd. Hunting for lizards in unburned country returned about 350 calories for every hour of effort. In land that had recently burned, that number jumped to 1,600 calories an hour, more than 4 times the return. A follow-up study from the same research team found Martu hunters lighting roughly 360 separate hunting fires a year, each one small and deliberate, spread across a home range approaching 500,000 hectares. Everyone assumes a burned landscape is a dead landscape, a disaster to be waited out. The truth, at least for people who understood fire well enough to set it themselves, is that burned ground was often the richest ground there was. Destruction and abundance turned out to be the same event, seen from 2 different distances in time. So the honest answer to the big question was never one trick. It was 4 separate skills, stacked across nearly 1,000,000 years, each one harder than the last. First, reading fire's behavior closely enough to move around it without panic, something even chimpanzees manage today. Then carrying it, keeping a wild spark alive somewhere dark and windless. Then engineering with it, using measured heat to turn bad stone into good tools. And finally, the biggest leap of all, setting the fire deliberately, on your own schedule, before the dry season could set it for you instead. Ancient humans didn't out-survive wildfire. Over roughly 1,000,000 years, one skill at a time, they slowly absorbed it into the toolkit. And notice what's missing from that list. Nowhere in 1,000,000 years of this story does anyone strike 2 rocks together and summon a flame from nothing. Pruitt's own framework breaks fire mastery into 3 stages: conceptualizing it, controlling it, and only much later, starting it. And, for most of human history, the 3rd stage simply wasn't necessary. Every fire that mattered had already been provided by the sky. Picture that grass plain again. The sky gone orange. The fire moving faster than you can run. Somewhere between that moment and now, the answer stopped being about running at all. Ancient humans learned to carry the threat, feed it, shape it, and eventually set it loose on their own terms, turning the thing that could erase their world into the tool that built the next one. Today, most of that relationship has been outsourced to an app that buzzes when smoke shows up 40 miles away. The fire is still out there. It's still moving. Almost nobody left knows how to read it. The real wildfire was never the one on the horizon. It was the 1,000,000 years it took to stop being afraid of it.